Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh yeah!
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Banner 18. J. King, Jam, Packard, and the B-Rob.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Jay-Z, White, and the Catalog.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The kids, the legends, the gods.
Still Poddable, still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh yeah!
I just had to go to a bathroom.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's interweb. I am Sam Jam Packard.
Somebody else made the claim that they have the best Celtics podcast.
They haven't even released an episode yet, so that's a poppycock claim, I would say.
I'm just saying, there's a new podcast out there, and they're already claiming to be the best.
I may have to discuss that topic on Tuesday night after the game with someone who's made such a claim, but we'll see. We'll see. That was Jay King from The Athletic, joined by Brian Robb from MassLive.com. Like I said, I am Sam Jam Packard. We are Still Poddable. We are a Monday through Friday Celtics podcast, giving you content every single day of the week at Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. Today is the free episode. That does mean we are on the CLNS YouTube page. It means we are brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app. If you want to save some money on those two products, use the promo code CLNS. And if you like our content as the best Celtics podcast, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. The season starts soon. You're going to want to jump on board. We got a great community. Kids, the gods, the legends, chat, who are there throughout all of the games, talking C's, talking nonsense. We got J-Mail, J. King answering questions for you every single day.
And we got a lot of voicemails now. Thank you guys for loading those up.
Excellent.
And if you want to leave a voicemail, we used to keep, because Jay can keep answering questions for days. The number is 617-684-5965. Fellas, we're going to get into, some preseason predictions later. I guess just the season's here, so predictions for the season. I got a blind ranking again for you guys. We're going to preview a little bit of Banner Night and Knicks Celtics. But first, we got to talk about the big news. The big news of all of preseason. It was not meant to be with Lonnie Walker. He got waived. They were not willing to pay the $10 million price. Jay, were you surprised by this deal at all, or lack of deal?
No, not at all. Despite the reputation Lonnie Walker has among fans, I'm not certain that his reputation is the same among GMs and front offices around the league. That's why the Celtics were able to get him on an Exhibit 10 contract, which essentially amounts to a training camp invitation with the possibility of going to the G League. That's why they're still, I think, optimistic that he will end up in Maine and not get claimed by another NBA team. So, no, I was not surprised. But he did have a pretty solid preseason. He has a lot of talent still at age 25. It's just paying $11 million or $12 million for a 15th man is a lot of money. A lot of money.
It really is. And I think that's the reason, too. You look around the league right now, Jay, and teams, I don't think there's a ton of worry that he is going to get claimed right now. It could happen, but a lot of teams have their rosters full, or they're keeping 14 guys for a reason because they are close to the luxury tax, or they just want that extra flexibility like the Celtics do. So, yeah, I think the fact that Walker even admitted to us a few weeks ago, I could spend some time in Maine. He knew this was probably where this was headed. And now if he does end up going there, that's great news for the Celtics. The Maine Celtics, get your tickets now. That's going to be a fun team to watch this year. And we'll see what happens down the line with Jaden Springer and other parts of this roster. And maybe Lonnie Walker will be rating there after the trade deadline to be a nice little midseason addition if they go in that direction.
How does that work with now that he's maybe on the Maine Celtics if he doesn't get signed by another team before? We're recording Sunday night. I think have teams on Monday to finalize their roster. I just don't know the mechanics of like now that he's I guess would be a main Celtic and not on the team. How often do they, if they bring him up for an extended period, do they have to sign him? Is it at a lesser cost? What are the mechanics of like kind of using that? Because it's different than a two-way guy.
Yeah. So if he's on the main Celtics, he's signed to a G League contract, so he can't come up and play for like he's there. Like maybe he could practice against the Celtics or something like that. Like he'll be fully integrated in their system, but he can't play for the season unless they actually sign him to a real deal. So it's a matter of the Celtics have the
and
first.
He's not eligible for a two-way contract.
He's not exactly. He's aged out of that, so that's not there. If it was a couple years ago, he could have done that, but he's aged out of that now. So now it's just waiting for the Celtics or another team to say, "Hey, you've killed it in the G League for the last month or two. Like, we think we're ready to bring you back." And that there's gonna be a lot of guys like him around the league in that void right now. It seems like, because making these rosters is becoming tougher and tougher for these fringe guys that are coming off rookie deals and don't have a desirable all-around skill set to NBA teams.
And if they signed him again from that G League contract, it would be the veteran minimum and prorated, and they still have to pay all of that tax money. Yeah,
I wonder what type of player he would be in the G League. Like, obviously, he'd be productive. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But would he go in there with the same mentality that he took to the Boston training camp, which is like, I want to work on everything that's limited me so far in the NBA, that every doubt that NBA teams have about my game, I want to work on my playmaking, my defense. I want to be like Derek White and Drew Holiday. Is he going to continue that mindset while he's in the G League, or is he going to be like, you know what? Let me just go get 35.
Fuck it, we ball.
I can get 35.
Ball up top, yeah.
I'm more talented than almost all these guys, so let me just cook. I don't know, and I think the answer to that could determine how successful his comeback attempt is if he's not claimed by another team right away.
I feel like that's the ultimate test for him, right? Like that you just laid out, Jay. That's it.
It's been a while since I've dropped Nick Friedman's name on the podcast, but Nick Friedman, longtime coach in the G League.
A couple minutes.
You talk like when I talked to him about the G League, it's like all those guys are like have the talent to be in the league, but a lot of it is just mindset of dealing with the G League and like dealing with one, just like you're so close and you need to do those little things that the organization wants you to do. But especially for a guy like Lonnie Walker, you're going from private flights every night to like now you're taking buses a lot of places and not the best accommodations. And so I think it's definitely going to be an adjustment of just like mentality wise, mindset wise. And he came in and he said all the right things and has very much been focused on like putting the work in. But I think you're right, Jay. It's a big question. Like as this fringe player, as a guy, as like a quadruple A, as they call it, what's your approach in the G League? Because that's like really what's going to separate him and like be the defining factor whether or not he gets that next NBA opportunity.
And to follow up, Packard, on your like question about the contract stuff, it could be like last year with like Kata. He got signed like the last week of the regular season, the last 2 weeks. That he's as for the veterans minimum, it's only on the roster for like 2 weeks. That's only $100,000, something like that. So that could be a situation where, if the Celtics are really tight up against the cap there, they might wait to fill that 15th spot, but eventually have be willing to do that when it's not a $2 million plus all the penalties. It's a lot easier to pay if it's just a couple $100,000, and then you can pay the penalties on that. But you obviously could keep the rights to him long term in that situation.
The people who might be paying that money at the end of the season, we got to talk about random new ownership rumors. Random new ownership rumors. Two billionaires I've never heard of before might buy the Boston Celtics, and one of them kind of already owns the Boston Celtics. Do you guys know anything about Hale and Bezos? Not the Bezos you're thinking of, though. I got nothing besides names.
Yeah, one's a partial owner. We don't know. I mean, there's obviously a lot of owners of the Celtics right now, and clearly a lot of guys that own decent equity beyond just Pags. But I don't know, the brother of Bezos. That's a real wild card in there. Did not need to see that name emerging again within the family. I wonder how that would whether he'd try to get his brother involved to pay the taxes for the next couple of years.
I think he's independently wealthy. Okay, I looked at his Wikipedia page and I'm out already on Mark Bezos. His description is Mark Bezos is an American space tourist.
That's a pretty dope thing, isn't it?
Nah, I mean, where's he going?
He is a space tourist, a volunteer firefighter, and a former advertising executive, according to Wikipedia.
That's a trifecta right there.
That's an amazing trifecta. The man just fights fires for free and then goes to explore space just for fun.
He
went with Jeff, right?
He's a Nepo sibling. No, I don't want him. I want some guy who earned his money through, regular firefighter work, not this volunteer stuff. No, that's a ridiculous take. I guess it's good that the Hale guy that currently owns the Celtics, and maybe it would be less change, but I have no idea. They're supposed to be opening up their books and like all the financials, and we'll probably get more random leaks of people who are interested in purchasing the Celtics. This rumor was in the Boston Globe, so we got to and that's what we do around here. Got to report any sort of breaking news. So that's what I did. And then we did some very cogent analysis, if I don't say so. Do say so myself.
I can't believe you chastise him for being a space tourist. Like, what a sick thing to be.
We should be doing space for science. It shouldn't be just the frills of the elite of billionaires just going and dancing in space. We
Why
need
not?
to get because we built this country on NASA and scientific exploration and getting to the moon not because it was easy, because it was hard. JFK propelled this country to greatness and all the things we discovered because of NASA.
What greatness came from that?
It's called winning the Cold War, J. King. Where have you been for the last 30 years?
Was that because they walked on the moon?
It certainly helped. How do you think the Ruskies felt when they saw our flag on the moon? Also, space ice cream.
That's what you eat when you're a space tourist, man.
Infrared thermometers, space blankets. You want me to go through the 20 inventions we wouldn't have without space travel?
I just think you're drastically underestimating.
I think
I do want you to do that, Packard, in a separate episode, dude.
I think you're drastically overestimating just a rich guy going into space. It's not like he's the one doing any of the science. He's just a super wealthy person. LEDs, CAT scans, scratch-resistant lenses, camera phones, Jay. This is all because of NASA. Bezos hasn't done any of this. Athletic shoes? Come on, buddy.
Have you ever been to space?
I mean, once. All right, folks. Basketball season's here. Enough for the silliness. Enough for we're probably going to continue doing that throughout basketball season. We got actual basketball coming Tuesday night. Celtics versus the Knicks. What are we anticipating from this banner night? I was talking with B-Rob before the show, Jay. Do you remember anything from banner night in 2009? Or was it, I guess, 2008?
I was not there. I was in college. Yeah,
but you love ball. You must have been watching.
I'm sure I watched their game. I don't remember who they played. Don't remember much about it, if anything.
I want to see it was the Cavs.
Cavs would make sense.
Cavs would make sense.
Are you expecting any guests, any guest speakers, any surprise people in the audience? Have you seen the rings at all? Who gets a ring? What's going on banner? What are you guys hearing? You guys are on the beat.
I have yet to see the rings. I've heard that there are different tiers of rings for different types of people, whether it's players, staffers, whoever. I think it's going to be a pretty gaudy ring, very expensive ring. I think they're going to try to establish a new standard for NBA rings, which I feel like every team tries to do that. You just try to outdo the person who did it before you. The rings are kind of ridiculous, but should be fun. Should be a good night. I think it'll be a good challenge for the Celtics to refocus themselves quickly after the milestone of getting your ring. And it's not normal for like almost every player who will get a ring to actually be with the team still. So it should be kind of not unique in that regard, but pretty rare to have. I think it's 12 players back, 13 players back from last season's team. So.
Will O'Shea Brissett be in town? And does everyone know circle on their calendars when the Jazz come to play for the Svi ring ceremony?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I did talk to a Celtics PR person who said there will be a decent amount of 08ers in the building, and I assume even other legends that are over there. So that should be a fun part of the night. But I'm very much looking forward to. I throw it to you guys. Is Joe Mazzulla going to be willing to talk about ring night like after the game at all, or is that just going to be moving forward at this point?
I think Mazzulla's pissed it off that it's happening at all. I think he's very moved on to this season is different, and I think he's going to be annoyed that there's a distraction.
I don't know. I mean, he's unpredictable. He could also.
He's unpredictable. That's why I'm asking him. Like I could see going both ways.
I could see him not wanting to disrespect the ring and not wanting to just poo-poo it just because, like, a lot went into those rings. And I actually think he'll be gracious in that moment after the game about it. But
I think he's going to dismiss the ring as a false idol and something that you should not worship. But that would just be my guess.
Why is it a false idol? It seems to me like the only idol you should worship.
That's a good question. I was just trying to throw out a cool biblical phrase that I knew, but yeah, I guess you're right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Folks, with the NBA season just around the corner, it's your chance to get in on the fun with Prize Picks. I know we're going to be picking Jason Tatum overs, Peyton Pritchard overs in the preseason, and so that's why you should go to Prize Picks today. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
I think we should focus on the basketball here. We're actually at basketball against seemingly the one of the best threats to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. The news coming out of New York's not good for their big men. Precious Achiuwa out 2 to 4 weeks, I think, with a strained hamstring. I don't know who their backup center is coming into this one.
Jericho Sims, I believe.
Oh, God. I should have known that. The guy who ruined the dunk contest. I'll never forgive him for that. I think any moment Jericho Sims is on the court is a win for these Boston Celtics. I do think it'll be a good test. The Knicks always play hard. I feel like they play the Celtics pretty well. How do you think the Celtics are feeling going up against the matchup against the Knicks, Jay?
I mean, probably pretty good about it. It was funny. Sam Hauser got asked about it the other day, and he's like, yeah, like they're good. I don't know what else you want me to say. I haven't seen them play all together yet. So that's kind of how I feel. We've talked a lot about the Knicks, but I just think they're ready to get going. I think they're super excited. Like, it's just great vibes around the Celtics right now. The way that they came into camp, the focus that they've had, the attitude that they've had, the willingness to just kind of re-engage in the fight to improve. I feel like they're just ready to get going and ready to play another team, ready to get the regular season going, ready to continue challenging themselves. And I want to see them, especially against the Knicks, because the Knicks are one of the reshaped teams that could help define the Eastern Conference this year. And it'll be the first look at Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns next to each other. Be the first look at Bridges and the new hitch in his jump shot versus Tatum and maybe no hitch in his jump shot. It's going to be an epic night.
How do you think they start off on Towns? Do you think they give just Horford to start, or do you think we get like a crazy Drew Holiday matchup or something wacky?
I think it's Drew Holiday. I think they'll put Drew Holiday on Towns.
And then White on Brunson, and then everyone else kind of matches up. Like who does Horford guard in that scenario?
Probably OG.
Yeah, maybe Anunoby.
But yeah, it is. Or maybe, I don't know, are we going to see Jalen guard Brunson to like, or at least try to take that assignment like he did a bunch of times last year with top guards on their team? That'll be a fascinating subplot of it. But I don't know, if the Celtics are rolling healthy outside of Porzingis, Knicks, a lot of new parts, a lot of front court guys down. I look like, if you look at their bench, they have like 2 or 3 guys that have NBA experience off the bench. I thought I saw some tweets today. So it'll be looking forward to Josh Hart playing 48 minutes right out of the gate here for Tibbs. And maybe I expect them to like run Towns off the floor in this opener from a defensive perspective. Really try to go out at him a lot on the perimeter.
I definitely want to see Drew on Towns. I want to see that. I want to see how New York tries to counter it. They ran a ton of pick and rolls with Brunson and Towns during the preseason. And I think that's going to be pretty much their bread and butter, just space the court for Brunson in a way that he never benefited from last season. But the Celtics can, as long as Holiday can handle Towns, which he probably can, at least to some extent, you can sort of blow up that pick and roll because you can have Tatum or Jalen or whoever in that action too. And that's what makes the Celtics so tough. They don't have those same weaknesses or vulnerabilities that a lot of other guys do.
Yeah, and it's not like Towns is the best back-to-basket player. Like maybe if you switch White onto him, they'll try to go after that mismatch. But if you have anyone else on Brunson and then Drew on Cat, you can switch all of those. And so I do agree. I think neutralizing that is going to be important for the Celtics. On the other end of the court, that's obviously they have a great wing defenders in OG and Mikal Bridges. Brunson's always been the guy you kind of try to want to attack. Also, I think I'm just used to be like the last basketball I actually broke down was playoff basketball, where it's like you're really trying to target one guy. Probably Celtics just kind of trying to get in the first game and run their offense. I don't know if they're going to be like specifically slowing the pace down just to hunt Jalen Brunson on the other side of the court. But
I think it'll be Towns. They hunt more often. Just space him out, go by him, drive him, put him in actions, get him moving. He doesn't have Gobert to cover him up anymore. And I don't even think they'll have to change their offense or really go out of their way to go at him, because what they do normally will just put a lot of stress on him.
We saw a lot in the Toronto game, and I know some guys weren't playing no Hauser, no Holiday, but I feel like we saw a lot more too big than I was expecting. A lot of Xavier Tillman at the 4 and him and Cornette in the game. A decent amount. I'm so like, I just love. I've been so indoctrinated by 5 out that like anytime I see 2 bigs on the court, I'm immediately like, this offense doesn't work. I don't know if the results necessarily bear that out, B-Rob, but like, what do you think the big rotation is going to be? How do you think they use Cornette? Feels like he's be the first big off the bench, but I don't know. I don't love. And it was especially bad in the Raptors game because it was a front court of Cornette, Tillman, and Walsh. So it's not like the best spacing in the world. But how do you see that big man rotation working out? And how often do you think we're going to see them go to double bigs early on in the year?
I think we'll see Tillman a decent amount. Like even
but Tillman at the 5 or Tillman next to Horford and Cornette?
I think we'll probably see it in the second quarter every game out of the gate. Like some variation on that, because he like it worked last year. Not every combination of double bigs worked, but that's a look that they've had success with a lot going back to Brad Nema's days. So I think against the Knicks team, like, and with Tillman moving the way he has now, like I think against this Knicks lineup. Like he's going to be able to guard OG on the perimeter. He's probably going to be able to like do okay against a Josh Hart in the stint here or there. I assume the Knicks are going to be playing plenty small because they just don't have bigs outside of Towns that they can count on. But yeah, I think that's a look you're going to get. I don't, but it is, if there is a, like, does Jordan Walsh get thrown in the fire here for this matchup too? You can make the case for that as well. So, but I would assume that Tillman's going to get the first crack at those wild card minutes as like the ninth guy off the bench, just in short spurts, and maybe over Cornet at times at center if Cornet's being taken, being played off the floor on the perimeter.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Joe does with the rotation, and I would guess there's definitely some Jordan Walsh. At least to reward him for the preseason that he had. Joe seemed pretty excited about the approach Walsh took throughout preseason. The double big thing will be interesting because, yes, it has been a good recipe for the Celtics, but the three bigs that they're going to use, I don't know how well they fit next to each other.
Yeah, Horford and Kristaps as double bigs are so like wildly different than any of the other like two guys on the court.
Yeah, and like the Cornet and Horford played 245 minutes last year, which not a lot over the course of an 82-game season. The Celtics defensive rating was 118, it was basically like the only duo that they got diced with. They still outscored opponents by 5.6 points per 100 possessions in those minutes. But like that's not necessarily the look you want, especially defensively. If you go to Tillman at 4 next to Cornet, especially, you could be limited with your offense. Like you could be severely limited offensively, especially against teams that can really, go after you a little bit.
I mean, teams are just going to abandon Tillman in the corner in any of that. And so there's some moments in the Raptors
and he'll make them pay.
Ooh, the Brian Robb stamp of approval, belief
guaranteed
in Xavier Tillman's three-point shot. I'm not there yet. I think teams will welcome any Xavier Tillman corner three at this point. And
while we're on the Tillman corner three, I thought it was pretty funny. He was practicing the other day and kind of working on like game shots, which for him is sometimes going to mean like stand in the corner and just wait for everything else to go on. And so Sam Cassell was working with him, and Cassell was pretending to be Jaylen Brown and or Jason Tatum, and he was like pump faking. He was like trying to get his in the middle of the lane while Tillman just sat in the corner waiting for the pass, and he was just like trying to throw him off rhythm. And it was pretty funny because he's like, this is what Jalen and Jason are gonna do. Like, and he was just going through like a progression of fakes and just trying to go get a bucket while Tillman just waited there waiting for his rep. It was pretty funny stuff, but also kind of shines a light into the work that he's doing, which is, you are going to have to stay on rhythm when you're not necessarily like in the flow. Like you have to be able to sit there and wait, catch and fire. And he's been working on that.
He definitely has a willingness to shoot that he's displayed in the preseason. And I feel like his minutes going on like throughout the season is going to be directly correlated to how well he's able to knock down those open threes. Because I do think teams are going to leave him wide open. And you just get, if I'm Joe Mazzulla, I'm so much more comfortable if he's knocking down corner threes at like a 40% clip. And it's not a gimme shot. Teams have to at least take a step towards him rather than just welcoming that shot.
If he becomes Aaron Baines, right?
Then that'll be game over. Who's three do you guys trust more, Walsh or Tillman at this point?
Who's 3?
Yeah.
I trust Walsh, but it's because he can do stuff beyond, like he can also catch the ball on the perimeter and like do something. That's based on like what 5 preseason games of like him having some sort of off the dribble game or slashing to the rim. But he's much more of an offensive threat than Tillman is, and so I feel like you can't just leave him wide open just because he can do more with the ball. In terms of shot for shot, I don't know. I'm going to leave that to the ball expert Jay, who's got a better shot at this point.
I would trust Walsh more just because his track record of being bad isn't as long.
I'm bringing out the summer league tape.
Tillman has been less than 30% every year since he was a rookie. Wow!
But he made that one in the finals, Jay. He made that one in the finals.
He made a huge one in the finals. This is true. And
he's
Jordan
was better
Walsh
in the preseason than Walsh.
He was 3 for 3 in Abu Dhabi one time.
Jordan Walsh is 20 years old, and I think it's easier to improve when you're that age. Not saying you can't improve. I'm not dismissing the Kaizen attitude, but I just, no matter what happened in preseason, it's going to take a larger sample size for me to believe in the power of Xavier Tillman's jump shot.
I hope they play both, to be honest with you. But like you said, like they both played great enough in the preseason to get those shots and carrying out of the gate. If you're playing 10 guys and you're Joe Mazzulla, like even if it's just stints in the second quarter, that's obviously helps keep the minutes down, but then you can keep Drew down below 30 minutes too if you want, if you're going to give Walsh 6 minutes there and play 5 to 10 minutes of Tillman at the 4 every night.
How low do you think they'll have Drew's minutes?
How
low right around 30.
They're going to have Al's minutes. Al played one game in the preseason. I don't want to be
24.
Nancy here, but he didn't look the most spry out there.
Rusty. His first action.
Is he going to be? They kind of need him not to be rusty playing against the Knicks on Tuesday night.
Do they?
Tillman and Cornette can take care of it.
I mean, I believe in Luke Cornette as much as the next fella, but I think the stretching.
It's a revenge game for Cornette.
Is it revenge? Did he leave New York on negative terms?
It's only a revenge game if he has a big game, I guess.
Yeah, and that's how I understand Luke Cornette, is to be circling games on the calendars to vanquish past foes, just because he's a really vengeful guy.
Basketball is back in the TD Garden, folks, and it is a perfect opportunity to get tickets to see the Celtics go for Banner 19. I know I'm going to miss being in that building, and so do it for me. Go to TD Garden or go to a whole sort of events going around in the Boston area or wherever you're listening to a podcast. The best way to do that is through the Game Time app. Game Time app is the best way to get tickets on the interwebs. You can get it for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. It's got all-in pricing and shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can get seat views with panoramic views from where your seat will be in the app before you buy. There's a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you up to 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Bold predictions for the game. Anything.
2 Tillman 3-pointers.
Wow. We're starting the B-Rob. He's putting all the chips in on the Tillman 3-point shot. I think Peyton Pritchard's going to have 18 points on 6 threes.
Jason Tatum's going to have 40.
Ooh. That'd be a tough 42 against those defenders.
Yeah, against those defenders, that'd be impressive. Well, since we're so good at predicting things, let's get into more predictions for the season. Do you want to start off with the wackier ones or the more basic, consistent ones? I'll let you choose, B-Rob, because I'm loving the Tillman fire you're bringing.
I'd say mix it up.
Oh, okay.
So one serious and then one wacky. Go back and forth.
Little iPod shuffle here.
Yeah,
that's good. How many wins will the Celtics have this year?
67.
Woo!
67.
64.
You've gone through the whole schedule and win, loss, and you guys tallied those up? Because I did that. I'm only at 62.
How many games you got Porzingis playing?
Jay and I talked about this, and I threw out a 35 as the over-under. I think it's going to be because he's not going to be playing back-to-backs. He's on the Joel Embiid schedule.
Yeah,
I think I'd be surprised if he plays over 40 games, or I think he's going to be playing in less than half the games.
67 is definitely a hotter take, but I just think they're going to be so far ahead of people to start the season, even without Porzingis. Like, they were 31-6 without Porzingis last year. They absolutely dusted everyone without Porzingis. They have everybody back that matters. They had, other than Porzingis, a healthy preseason. They're not like acclimating themselves to a new addition. They're not learning anything new. Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser look great. Like, there's just so much reason to think that the Celtics are going to come out and play great basketball from the start.
They don't need Lonnie Walker. I mean, this is no, but it is like the fact that we're the nitpicking for us is like, like Tillman or Jordan Walsh, like who should play more because they both deserve to play. Like that's the sort of problems they had from the preseason, which is very much to say everything's been right. And then you look around the rest of the Eastern Conference, either injuries or new pieces having to be worked in together from almost every contender right now. And now you look at even like a team like the Thunder where guys are dropping left and right there. If these guys can stay healthy, I think like Jay's number doesn't look as crazy as it might feel out of the gate.
I just think the East is a little bit better. Like, it feels like they have more top level teams. I would say 2 through 7. I don't think the Celtics are going to win the conference by 14 games this year. And maybe they'll win 67 games, and there'll be other 60-win teams. I just think it'll be a little bit closer to the pack. But I think it's not like I'm really being a Debbie Downer here predicting they're going to win 62 games. That's still a very, very good basketball team.
The way they played last year, 64 wins felt like it was almost that was their floor.
So you're predicting 72 wins.
I'm not.
What's their ceiling? What's the most amount of wins you think they can get this year?
But they didn't go out of their way to try to win games. Like, they sat players, they rested players, they limited minutes for guys. They never went crazy with like loading up Al Horford's playing time or loading up Jason Tatum with a crazy month, which Joe Mazzulla did the previous year when he was a rookie coach. They just were so much better than everybody last year that they won 62 games or 64 games rather, while like pacing themselves. And so
injury luck's the one thing I'll throw in for that. But
yeah,
at the same time,
especially if like Tatum or Brown go down for a significant period of time, or you could throw Derek White into that, or even the bench guys.
Yeah. But the problem, the thing that
you get to the Jordan Walshes of the world in the rotation regularly, that's when the drop off could come, and that's when the wins could diminish.
But injury luck applies less to this group, I feel like, because Tatum, White, Pritchard, those are like Ironmen as far as their durability goes. So like Jalen's had some injuries over the years, nothing like too crazy serious. Drew's the big one, I think, as far as who else you're worried about beyond Al's just age. But yeah, by and large, I feel like you don't worry about injuries of guys like that, and that's like half their rotation right there. So that kind of puts you ahead of other teams where other guys are just prone to it.
B Rob just jinxed it.
I listen.
He totally just
Derek White torn ACL.
You don't have to say a specific guy and a specific injury.
No, there's no chance. There's zero. I will.
What
you
are
guys
you
can make me
doing
do something that happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I would not
poking a voodoo doll right now.
No,
poking.
Come on,
Derek White
come on.
I know. I have my next answer for my next question. My next prediction is going to be biggest villain, and it's going to be B Rob because he jinxed the team.
Shut up.
Biggest villain. It could be a guy on the Celtics who's a villain and tearing the team down from within, or one of their opponents. Who do you think the biggest villain of this upcoming season will be?
Mo Wagner.
Oh,
that's the easy answer. Mo Wagner is always getting into it with somebody, and I actually think the Magic have a chance to be really good. I'm probably higher on the Magic than most. They added KCP. Boncaro and Wagner brought them to the 5 seed last year while not being able to shoot at all. Like, they were just so physical and so rugged defensively and so versatile that they were able to get the 5 seed without being even remotely good shooters, if they do take a step forward, they could be really, really tough. And if Mo Wagner is in intense games, Mo Wagner is going to be a villain. That's just how it goes. Mo Wagner is the most annoying opponent in the league. I don't know if it's even close. Mo is in a league of his own. He's a legend. And I say that with all respect. Like,
Yeah.
Mo is just the most irritating force out there. I love that guy.
I've got an up-and-comer that might challenge Mo on that front. Because if someone was getting hurt in the Celtics, this would be the guy to do it. Aaron Nesmith.
Oh, wow.
Aaron Nesmith is a man who is a battering ram.
Did B-Rob just call that Nesmith is going to injure?
It always has last year. I feel like there was a couple close calls in those Pacer games, like in the regular season, not in the. But no, he plays hard. He's obviously got a chip on his shoulder against this team, and now you have the rivalry of what happened in the playoffs. Now, I think those are going to be some heated matchups. Maybe it's Joe Mazzulla going after him, battling for a loose ball on the court. I don't know. Anything goes at this point. But look out for Nesmith as far as some fisticuffs.
Those are two pretty good picks from two teams who are like pretty solid. My first thought was just Luka because just people on Celtics Twitter seem to love to hate Mavericks Twitter right now, and so they don't really play often enough for there to be a true villainy. Like, I feel like you do need to have a villain come from an Eastern Conference, maybe a division opponent, and without any real rhyme or reason, and don't ask me to explain this, it's going to be Kelly Oubre Jr.
I have another nominee for when you're done.
That's all I got. Kelly Oubre Jr.
Just take a pick.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid. They haven't
if
played
he plays, do they play him on a back-to-back? Because they might not get.
They haven't played Embiid in the playoffs in a while.
2 years.
But if they play a series against Joel, and if the 76ers are competitive, then his combination of being really good at basketball and also a gifted troll would infuriate people. And I think they're probably the best roster that he's had in his career. He definitely has, like in Maxey and Paul George, that is a legitimate big three. And I believe Embiid will get under people's skin if the Celtics play him, especially if he is in great shape like he says he is, and he has dropped all his weight, and he is like just able to kind of shed some of his playoff demons, and it's a close series. People are going to hate Joel Embiid. And he's doing the DX chop. Like,
it's wild that he just gets away with that. We were not allowed to do that in school because it was so offensive. And
I was a bad boy, and I used to do it no matter what.
That's so on the nose. Next,
the bad boy of Williams Middle School.
You ever get like suspended? You ever get a timeout for to do too much DX chopping, or the people just like, there goes the kid?
I don't remember specifically getting like detention or anything like that because I was doing the suck it sign, but I can't imagine that teachers were thrilled about it. And
were you doing it to like friends? Were you like doing it as like a
Mr. Johnson, that algebra test sucks.
Right? Or you?
I think I was pretty
liberal.
I didn't discriminate.
Yeah,
it was just
everyone got it.
Everyone was getting it. Yeah.
All right. Who do you think is going to be the most frustrating player on the Celtics? The Celtics player that fans will be most annoyed with?
This is a good one because there's not a lot to pick from here.
They're pretty beloved at this point.
Yeah. And this is just based on the preseason, like Jaden Springer on offense.
I hope they don't tweet at all about Jaden Springer. Jaden Springer should hopefully not play.
Right. But that's the thing, exactly. Like I don't know if he's going to be on the floor enough for him to even reach that level. But yeah, so that's all I got for that. It's going to be slim pickings. Maybe Cornette.
It's going to be Tillman. It's going to be Tillman because his lack of offensive punch is just glaring sometimes, and especially if he does play in these big duos next to Al Horford or Luke Kornet. I think the Celtics going to just look a bit clunkier than they normally do when Tillman is in those lineups, and he'll get the blame just because he's not the most dynamic force offensively. I don't think he'll deserve it. I think he'll be great defensively. He'll have a solid impact when he's on the court, but just because of the way his game is, he's not a good finisher. He's not a great shooter. There's just a lot of obvious stuff, a lot of obvious shortcomings offensively. I think people are going to get annoyed with him sometimes.
I think it's going to be Drew Holiday. That guy does some of the craziest shit in the world during games. And that's my only justification for why people might become frustrated with him, because he will take a 3 in transition that he had no business taking, or throw in lob that doesn't make any sense. And I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here looking for someone. It's tough to be frustrated with a championship team trying to come back to another championship. And so, I wish I had that question back. Wasn't the best question. Hand up, that's on me.
It worked. It worked. It produced some okay conversation.
All right. Who's going to lead the team in technicals? I believe Kristaps won this award last year, but he's not going to be playing that many games. I'm going to go with the obvious one, I think, is just Jason Tatum complaining about or throwing his hands up and being a little bit demonstrative as leading the team in techs.
I feel like Tatum sort of distanced himself from exploding at refs a bit last year. He stopped dwelling on missed calls the way he had previously. He's still going to win it. I don't think there's any doubt.
Runaway.
It will not be Derek White. It certainly will not be Drew Holiday. Jaylen Brown almost never talks to referees like that.
See, I feel like he has a wild card. Like, I don't know. You're right. He generally is not going to be talking to him nearly as much as Tatum, but I feel like if he's going to come in with more confidence, maybe more attitude this year.
I think you're right.
Summer,
I looked it up.
I think he's a sneaker.
Tatum had 14 last year. Kristaps only had 10, and Jaylen Brown had 10, so he tied him.
Oh, all right.
Kristaps came out of the gate and was getting technicals every left and right in his first couple of games.
Jaylen had 10?
Give me Jaylen. I feel even better about this now. I thought he had like 7 or 6 or something like that.
Angry Jaylen, pissed off Jaylen.
Coming out.
Anytime he sees a ref wearing a Nike, he's going to be pissed off and start saying something. So
it's funny. I was like, Tatum really took a step back. He didn't go after the refs as much, and he almost got enough technicals to get
What is
suspended.
it? What is the suspension? 16?
I think it's 16 or 17.
Jesus.
Luka Doncic led the league last year with 19. So good for him. Speaking of players like Luka Doncic, a more traditional prediction. Do you guys have MVP picks?
I'm going Jokic just because that team is going to need him more than ever. And the one thing that might go against them is they might, if they fall to the middle of the pack in the West playoff picture, I think that hurts them. But they're going to, he's going to be putting up close to a triple-double every night, and that's just numbers-wise, it's going to look a lot better than most of the rest of the MVP pack.
I don't know if he gets the narrative thing. I feel like he put up those numbers last year, and people were just like, we're not going to give him a third MVP. Like all the advanced stats, he was clearly the best. I guess he did win it last year, so maybe they'll just do that again. It feels like if the Mavericks finish in the top 3 of the Western Conference, it will be Luka. But my pick, I think they're just going to give it to Shea. I think that the Thunder are going to be good, and people love Shea. And even though he has a wildly talented cast around him, there are a bunch of young up-and-comers, so Shea gets all the credit, whereas a guy like Tatum gets knocked down for having great players around him. Shea has a much higher usage rate on a team that should be the best team in the Western Conference, and people like a new person. So I'm going with Shea.
I actually think Shea's numbers, like counting numbers, might come down a little bit.
Just because he has better guys around him? I mean, he's like...
Well, first of all, they added a couple pieces that are significant. But then you have Chet Holmgren, who's only going to grow. Like, I don't think his role from last season is going to be his role forever. And then Jalen Williams is also ascending. So it's like you have a mix right now where I think Shea, the opportunities that he's continued to just increase are going to start shrinking, I think. And maybe that doesn't come this year, but it's Luka to me. They're going to need him to do so much. They're going to have, like, they don't have outside of him and Kyrie Irving very many like offensive generators, and he's going to have insane stats if he can do that while also playing a little more defense and winning some games. And I think Luka is going to be tough to beat.
Is his playoffs last year, or his finals last year, is that going to hurt him at all in terms of how the narrative?
I don't think it will, because yes, he was bad, but the Celtics were just like so dominant throughout the run that I don't think it's a stain on him that he didn't play great against them.
I think the defensive highlights that I've seen on Twitter all summer is kind of a stain on him. Like, to be an MVP, you can't be that bad defensively and just not putting in that effort.
Agreed. The way the series went, the Celtics attacking him, it showed how he needs to get better. But I don't think people will hold it against him the same way that they would another series, just because of how lopsided the matchup was. And part of that was, again, because he wasn't good enough defensively. I just feel like, maybe I'm wrong, it won't be held against him. And then he also has the narrative like, oh, he came back after that finals loss and he's in better shape now and he's a better defender now. And wow, look at them winning all these games. So
that's why I think it's dependent on how much the Mavericks have team success, because Luka led the league in scoring last year, but they were the 5th seed. I think if he gets them like a top 3 or 4 seed, like in the top half of that bracket, and leads the league in scoring, it will go to Luka. But I do think it's just going to be dependent on, like, has he led the Mavs to be like one of the elite teams in the playoffs? Because the Mavericks were not like thought of as this like as much of a threat in the Western Conference basically until the conference finals of last year.
My super dark horse is Zion.
Wemby? Oh, Zion.
Wow.
Zion.
He played 72 games last year.
Doesn't matter.
Really?
Doesn't matter what he's done in the past. I just feel like if that dude just takes everything seriously and is at top level for a full season, maybe that's impossible. Maybe it'll never happen. Maybe we'll never see that type of Zion. But if he does, that is one of the 3 to 5 most dominant players in the league.
You know who can elevate him too?
Tice.
Yeah. You got Tice playing alongside you, setting those screens.
Send those screens, playing defense.
39.
All MVPs that needed Daniel Tice in their camp.
That is a good one though. Like if there's anyone who should be motivated as hell for this year, just based off like where he's been, if he can, and if the preseason reports about what he's been, how he's looking, and how he's, just his mindset are there, then yeah, that's one that would certainly win the narrative card on that front.
Yeah, the Pelicans just don't make sense to me as a team, and so I don't know if they're going to necessarily have the team success.
Could Giannis? I mean, obviously he could.
Giannis could.
But
Giannis can do anything. Yes. Especially because now they have Thanasis back. Wild move. Has that officially gone through, or is that just a rumor that got put out there?
I don't think that's gone through.
I think that's insane if they're trading Marshawn Beauchamp just to sign an injured Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Just make him assistant. Just like he can hang out still. You don't have to waste a roster spot on him. He can be a player development coach, but he's injured. He tore his ACL. He's not going to be on the team. It's wild to me to give him a roster spot and like cut another guy. But what if he's there?
Do you think he's been on the roster because of what he did on the court before?
He has. Hypothetically, he could get on the court. There was times where I've seen him play basketball. If he's injured and just collecting paychecks, he should be a player development coach.
Nick Friedman.
Nick Friedman's the assistant coach of the Capital City Go-Go. But yes,
But a young Nick Friedman.
Yeah, younger Nick Friedman, correct. 2 more. What do you guys think is going to be the go-to Joe Mazzulla cliche this year? I feel like last year it's a defining championship or defining success in a different way. You guys have been to a lot of his scrums early in the preseason.
They're all the same. There is no difference.
He's not going to bring out a different animal.
It's
There's
going
not
to be
difference.
humility. I think open-mindedness is his focus for now, though. That is his number one focus, is open-mindedness. Like, we need to be willing to adapt. We need to know that the way we won a championship last year might not be the way we win a championship again. We need to be open-minded. It's going to be open-mindedness. That's the leader in the clubhouse.
I think it's going to be this year's different from last year. We haven't done anything yet. This is a new season. There's going to be a lot of questions. A lot of you reporters are going to frame it like, well, with last year's success, how does this struggle in this Thursday night game against the Pacers thing? It's like, well, this is this year. And he's just going to cut off a lot of questions by any time a reporter mentions last year, he's immediately like, this is the new year. And I think that's going to be his main arguing point going into this year.
Jalen did that quite well.
Possibility you're wrong.
Okay.
Are you open-minded to the possibility you're wrong?
Always. I'm frequently wrong.
It's true.
B-Rob, your thoughts? Am I frequently wrong or not?
Yes. I think going the animal route here, I think we're going to get a seal is going to be involved. I don't know if we've heard about a seal. Like, you've heard the whales. I think a seal is like going to be involved some way regularly this year. I'm just trying to think about what.
But seals get hunted by sharks, don't they? I feel like seal might not.
He'll find a way, though.
Don't be a seal. I think he's going to go from the animal kingdom down to like the insect world, or like different viruses in terms of stuff like that. There's got to be a new thing that he gets obsessed with he can use as a metaphor for talking about the Celtics, like amoeba. Amoeba are constantly switching positions and taking down their opponents or something like that.
Wow, that taps ground there.
Finals prediction. Jay King.
Don't you feel like we're a long way from sandcastles? I'm sorry for.
We are. Please never apologize for getting back to sandcastles.
Please.
Remind the folks what the sandcastles were, in case there's some listeners who aren't familiar.
Was that 2 years ago or 1 year ago at this point?
That was 2 years ago.
That's the first one, yeah. One of Jay's finest works.
He stressed
Sandcastle scoop.
Sandcastles and building a new sandcastle every day.
The ocean's going to come and wash it away, but you're going to put in that goddamn fucking work and build a new sandcastle.
Isn't sandcastle kind of back on theme now?
Oh, be open-minded, yeah.
Their sandcastle was wiped away. Got to build a new one. Got to start it all over again.
You should remind him of that at practice tomorrow. Be like, how's the new sandcastle you built?
I'm sure he would be thrilled.
All right, finals prediction, Jay.
Celtics over the Thunder.
Going chalk.
In 6. Yeah, I honestly, I don't think there's a team in the East in Boston's class. I don't think there's a team in the West in Oklahoma City's class. I'm open to the idea that Oklahoma City will still need to take its lumps in the playoffs and will still need to learn how to win against a team like Dallas, which has Luka, or even maybe a team like Minnesota, which plays such great defense and is physical. But right now, I think those are the two best teams and by far the most complete teams. And I think they're going to be on a collision course to meet in the finals.
B-Rob?
Celtics Thunder was my pick going into the preseason. All these injuries that have hit the Thunder are giving me a little bit of pause here. So I'm gonna go Wolves. Celtics over Wolves. I like I kind of just like this deal for the Wolves. I like DiVincenzo on their roster. Randall either figured it out with them or they trade him for some other good stuff. And yeah, it's Thunder are going to be right there, but I think Celtics take care of either of those teams, assuming they're healthy without a problem.
I was going to go Wolves, but now I'm going to pivot because, I'm just trying to be different. Celtics over Grizzlies. Celtics over Grizzlies in 6. Zach Edey, is going to be a star. Ja Morant coming back. Full season of Marcus Smart. Hopefully Triple J can be – every time the Grizzlies have been healthy, they've won over 50 games. They've been a contender for the top seed in the West. And so mostly because you guys took the Thunder and the Wolves, I'm going with Grizzlies as my finals pick. And
I'll say spicy finals.
It'll be a very spicy finals. And then maybe Marcus Smart becomes the villain, which would be a wild case. All right, folks, we're going to end this with a blind ranking. I liked doing it so much the last time, and so we're doing it again. Jay and B-Rob, this is for potential still Poddable guests. I picked 5 names, and we'll go through them one at a time, but you have to rank them.
This is a good way to insult potential guests.
I know. Are these realistic guests, Packard? Before we insult anyone,
I think they're realistic guests. There's no one we've had on the pod so far. But we'll start with the first one. So rank them 1 through 5. Donnie Wahlberg.
5.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
That's an
music
easy
to my
5.
ears. Thank God. So you guys are just out on having Donnie Wahlberg on the
No, I mean,
I'm a huge fan of
Yes.
Donnie Wahlberg. He once sat down with my mother. I think I've told this on the podcast before. She went to Wahlburgers. He sat down with her and her friends. Seemed like a great guy. Talked to them for like an hour, whatever the case. So she's a big Donnie Wahlberg fan. If she is, I am. But I just don't know if I'd want to talk ball with him.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, he's coming in at the clear 5. Luke Cornett.
2.
I'm gonna go 3 here.
I need consensus from you guys. I need who feels stronger on the matter.
I guess I'll go to 3 because he is. We talked to him a lot, not on the
That's
podcast,
fair.
but we talked to him a lot. So I think, based on who else you're doing it, but that would be a very enjoyable guest for the Still Poddable crew here.
McLovin, Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
See, this is one I think
I'm a
2
huge
just for the Superbad. I know for the Superbad talk, I go 2 here just because.
Also in role models. Also a huge
Yeah.
Celtics fan.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
going 1. This is
Wow.
I need consensus from you guys. I can't.
Well,
I
I'm
can't
trying to
keep
think now.
track of both of your blind rankings. Maybe I can.
We'll go 2 because there's going to be another big name on this. But
I
McLovin,
hope so, or else
he's
we're gonna
way
be
up there among potentials for me.
So we've got 1, McLovin, Luke Cornett, and then the 4 spot, and then Donnie Wahlberg. Going with the next one, Joe Mazzulla.
1.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
yeah,
think
that's
it's,
pretty
you can't
obvious.
risk. You can't risk.
This is all about
before.
sequencing. This is all about
Yeah.
sequencing.
Just a fascinating guy.
And then the final one, Mayor Michelle Wu.
Can we flip her with Donnie?
No, you can't flip anything. Oh, you don't. Jay didn't want to insult anyone except for the mayor of the city.
No, I'd say 4 worked out just fine. That was a pro. She's a Celtics fan.
All right, I switched up. I put in Mayor Wu at a last
Donnie
minute
better.
pick. Okay, instead of Mayor Wu, what if I said Kendrick Perkins?
Perk would be.
That'd be tough for me. He'd obviously be sliding in 4, but I think getting him, he'd be closer to like
Maybe
2
a
or
huge
3.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty big get. You could go a lot of different ways with him, and just hitting the 08 to 2010 stories, you could fill up probably a couple podcasts just digging into that, much less everything else that he can put on your plate.
So it sounds like we're in agreement here, folks. We got 2 targets for the season to come on Still Poddable: Joe Mazzulla and McLovin. And I think we can make both of those happen with your help. I think I'd be more pumped and jacked for McLovin, personally, but that's just because I am scared of Joe Mazzulla. And would have to talk to him face to face. But either would be great gets, and maybe it's possible in the Still Poddable universe. We've had you guys watch the intro. You have seen the wall of fame of people who've come on. I have heard rumors that T Money's been in the lab preparing a new intro song. So get hyped for that.
Until that's ready, though, Packard, we need you to.
I'll record 19.
19.
Yeah,
we need the edit for
do that,
for the opener.
Definitely soon. Folks, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, this is the free episode. If you want to listen to us every single day, Monday through Friday, we got game recaps for every game during the week. We got pods. We got guests. We got a lot of content. We got the J-Mail coming to you. Again, that number is 617-684-5965. If you want to hear Jay answer questions every day, subscribe, patreon.com/stillpoddable. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And, of course, we'll be back tomorrow with more Still Poddable. Thanks for listening.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston still Poddable, still Poddable.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.